My parents funded my spoiled brother's stolen business idea. Then, they even sent a little spy to keep tab on me. I'm 28. I never imagined my life could spiral so completely in such a short span of time. My parents, my brother, and the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, each of them betrayed me in ways that left scars I'll carry forever. What started as a dream of building my own business turned into a nightmare of family favoritism, deceit, and heartbreak. Looking back now, I can see all the warning signs I missed, too blinded by trust and love to recognize the manipulation happening right in front of me. A year ago, I decided to quit my job in real estate to pursue my lifelong dream of starting my own business. My vision was clear: an innovative real estate investment firm that would revolutionize how people approach property development in our rapidly growing city. I'd worked tirelessly for 5 years, saving every penny I could. But I knew having investors with experience would be invaluable, especially in the competitive market I was entering. My parents were the natural choice. My dad ran a successful car dealership with his uncle, and my mom handled all the accounting. I was confident they'd see the potential in my plan. That Sunday dinner started like any other. Mom had made her famous pot roast, and we were all gathered around the table when I decided to make my pitch. I've been working on something. I began pulling out my carefully prepared business plan, a new approach to real estate investment that I think could really take off. My parents listened intently as I laid out my vision. Dad asked thoughtful questions about market analysis and profit projections, while Mom took notes. For a moment, I really thought I had their backing. Then my younger brother Lewis, who had never shown the slightest interest in entrepreneurship, cleared his throat. Actually, he said with that smirk I'd grown to hate, "You've inspired me, bro. I've been thinking about starting a business too." The business he described was suspiciously similar to mine, just with a few surface-level changes. My stomach turned as I watched my parents' faces light up at his words. 2 weeks later, they delivered the news over coffee in their kitchen. "We've given it a lot of thought," Dad began, not quite meeting my eyes. "We can only invest in one of you, and we think Lewis has more business acumen." I nearly choked. More business acumen? He's been in sales for what, 2 years? I've been in real estate since college. "Don't be dramatic," Mom sighed. "We just think his approach is more practical." Then Lewis, ever the gracious winner, offered his solution. "Hey, you could always work for me as a junior partner," he said, patting my shoulder. "Just so you'll have something." Something in me snapped. "You couldn't come up with your own idea if your life depended on it," I spat. "You're just riding my coattails like you always have." The argument escalated quickly, with Lewis playing the victim and my parents trying to mediate. "We love you both equally," they insisted, but their actions spoke louder than words. I walked out that night and didn't look back. For 6 months, I stuck to my guns. No family gatherings, no response to their messages, nothing. Every time Mom tried to guilt me into coming home, every time Dad sent those passive-aggressive texts about family loyalty, I reminded myself of their betrayal and stayed strong. I focused entirely on building my business from scratch. It was harder without their backing, but gradually, through determination and my savings, I started seeing progress. I landed a few small development projects, built relationships with independent investors, and slowly began making a name for myself. Then I met Courtney. It was at a real estate networking event. She was representing a local investment firm, and we clicked immediately. Smart, ambitious, and seemingly understanding of my situation with my family. "Family business can be toxic," she said during our first date, touching my hand sympathetically. "My dad tried to control my career too. That's why I struck out on my own." She was everything I needed at that moment: supportive, understanding, and seemingly in my corner. When I vented about my family's betrayal, she'd listen with sympathy and righteous anger on my behalf. "You're going to prove them all wrong," she'd say, squeezing my hand. "And I'll be right here beside you." I fell hard. For the first time since the family blow-up, I felt like someone was truly on my side. Courtney became my rock, my confidant, my partner in every sense of the word. She'd help me review contracts late into the night, offer suggestions on deals, and celebrate every small victory with genuine enthusiasm. Or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, everything changed. We planned a romantic weekend getaway at a cozy bed and breakfast upstate. After months of growing success in my business and deepening love with Courtney, I felt ready to take the next step. The engagement ring was hidden in my suitcase, a vintage piece I'd spent months searching for because Courtney had mentioned loving her grandmother's antique jewelry. That Friday evening, while Courtney was in the shower, I couldn't find my phone to check the reservation time for dinner. I grabbed hers instead, and that's when I saw it, a text from my dad. My heart stopped. The preview simply read, "Updates for today?" But it was enough to make my blood run cold. Why would she be texting him? Breaking our no snooping rule, I opened the message thread. What I found made me physically ill. Hundreds of messages, spanning months. Photos of my confidential business documents, detailed reports about my meetings with investors, even screenshots of my private emails. Meeting with Carson Group tomorrow. One of her texts read, "Sending you the details now. They're looking to invest $2 million if the numbers check out." "Good work," my father replied. "The usual amount has been transferred. Lewis will adjust his pitch accordingly." My hands shaking, I dug deeper. There were separate message threads with both my mother and Lewis. The betrayal went deeper than I could have imagined. "He's still suspicious about running into you at that coffee shop," Courtney had written to Lewis. "Maybe we should cool it with the accidental meetings for a while. Just keep him distracted," Lewis replied. "Dad's lawyers are almost done replicating his business model. We need to stay one step ahead. Once we launch first, his client base will come to us naturally." The timestamps told the story. They'd approached her shortly after Lewis had stolen my business plan. Everything about our relationship had been orchestrated, from our chance meeting at the networking event to her carefully crafted background story about family business struggles. But what made me nauseated was the casual way they discussed manipulating me. "Lewis. Does he still talk in his sleep? Any useful info there?" "Courtney. Nothing business related, but he misses Mom. Might be able to use that." "Lewis. Perfect. Mom's been wanting to reach out anyway. Time it with his next big deal." I heard the shower turn off and quickly put her phone back. My mind was racing, but I forced myself to stay calm. While she was still in the bathroom, I packed my bags silently and slipped out of my car. 2 hours later, pulled over at a gas station, I watched her frantic text roll in. "Baby, where are you? I'm worried sick. Please come back. We can talk about whatever's wrong. I love you. Please don't do this." Each message made me angrier, knowing now how calculated each word was. But then, staring at the stream of fake concern, an idea formed. Instead of letting them win, why not turn the tables? I drove back to the B&B, apologizing for my anxiety attack and claiming I just needed some air. That night, I got down on one knee and proposed, watching her eyes fill with what I now knew were crocodile tears as she said yes. Over the next week, I became the perfect fiancé while secretly building my case. I hired a private investigator who uncovered a trail of payments from my family to Courtney's offshore account. My lawyer helped me document every piece of stolen information and its subsequent use in my brother's business. I planned an engagement party at the most expensive restaurant in town, insisting on inviting both families and all our friends. "I think it's time to make peace with your family," I told Courtney. "Let's invite everyone to celebrate with us." She was thrilled, of course. Perfect opportunity to report back to her real employers. The night of the party, I waited until everyone had arrived. The restaurant's private room was packed with her friends, my former friends, and of course my family. The champagne was flowing, and Courtney was playing her role perfectly, hanging on my arm and beaming at everyone. I stood up to make a toast, gently tapping my glass with a spoon. "I want to thank everyone for coming tonight," I began, my voice steady. "Especially my beautiful fiancé and my loving family. You've all been so supportive." I paused, meeting Courtney's eyes. "In fact, let me show you just how supportive they've been." The waiters I'd hired began distributing folders to every guest. Inside were screenshots of all their schemes, the texts, the payments, the stolen documents, everything. My fiancée has been spying on me for my family, I announced to the silent room. Every business secret, every personal moment, all sold to the highest bidder. And the best part? I turned to Lewis. She was working with my brother the whole time. The room erupted in chaos. Courtney ran out crying. My mother started shouting about family loyalty, and Lewis tried to approach me aggressively until security stepped in. How dare you embarrass us like this? My father bellowed. Embarrass you? I laughed. You're worried about embarrassment after what you did? Oh, and one more thing, I added over the commotion. I'll be seeing you all in court. Corporate espionage is a serious crime. Later that night, Courtney came to collect her things from my apartment. She looked different somehow, smaller, less polished, more desperate. Please, she begged. Let me explain. Your family. They approached me when I was desperate. My sister's medical bills. Save it, I cut her off. I saw all the messages, Courtney. The planning, the manipulation, everything. You had countless chances to come clean. Instead, you chose to keep betraying me day after day. I never meant to hurt you, she sobbed. It just spiraled out of control. And then I really did fall in love with you. Love? I scoffed. You don't even know what that word means. Get out of my house. My lawyer will contact you about the lawsuit. That was 3 months ago. The lawsuit is proceeding well. Turns out courts take a pretty dim view of corporate espionage and fraud. My brother's business is crumbling now that investors know how he obtained his innovative ideas. My parents have tried repeatedly to reach out, alternating between threats and pleas for reconciliation. I've gone completely no contact with all of them. My business is growing steadily, built on my own terms this time. The betrayal still hurts, some days more than others, but therapy is helping me process it all. Last week, I ran into Mike, my old colleague from the real estate firm. I heard what happened, he said. Man, I'm sorry. I knew something was off about your family's reaction, but I never imagined. Me neither, I admitted. But you know what? In a weird way, they did me a favor. I know now that I can succeed without them. More importantly, I know I'm better off without their toxicity in my life. I've learned that trust, once broken, can never be fully restored. But I've also learned that I'm stronger than I ever imagined. These days, I'm focused on building a future free from toxic relationships, and this time, I'm doing it alone. Sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most important truths. Not everyone who claims to support you truly does, and sometimes the best family is the one you choose for yourself. As for me, I'm choosing myself this time. And you know what? That's more than enough. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them. So please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.